Lake Bonneville, a massive prehistoric lake, is now a series of beautiful valleys. Join Brandon Plewe and me, his son Spencer, as we hike the 200-mile length of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Discover its rich history, plan for its completion, and explore its state today.
Good morning. We got a beautiful summer day today. We got a great hike ahead of us. We're starting here at the Ogden Nature Center and are heading up to North Ogden. Our trail today is a segment called the Cold Water Canyon segment. It's actually the most recently built segment of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail in Weber County. It was built in 2015, and it was the last because it was a very challenging segment to build, including some interesting builds like this talus pile here, which looked like it was a difficult build. I'm really excited to see what's ahead of us. I have a great view there of Ben Lomond, which the locals will tell you is a secretly world-famous mountain. That's kind of an oxymoron, so let me explain. It dates back to someone named William Wadsworth Hodgkinson. Hodgkinson was a businessman in Ogden who, in 1907, opened one of the very first dedicated movie theaters in all of Utah and created a fairly large chain. But he got frustrated with how difficult it was to get movies from the studios in California to the theaters, and so he actually started developing a full distribution system and went down to California and actually bought up a couple of studios, small studios, to form a company called, yes, Paramount Pictures. He's actually sometimes called the man who invented Hollywood because of this idea of the do-it-all studio that handled both making the movies and the distribution system. The legend has it that he made the logo by doodling on a napkin his favorite mountain, Ben Lomond here. Yes, the logo didn't look exactly like the mountain, but it's a napkin doodle. And then he put 24 stars around it because they had 24 stars on the under contract at the time. He didn't actually stay with the company very long, about like 3 years, and he was kicked out of Paramount Pictures. And eventually the company more fictionalized the logo into the mountain that you see today. But it all dates back to Ben Lomond. Nice little spring right here. Not often that the trail crosses springs. Good positioning when they built it, I guess. Probably good drinkable water, but just be safe. Good stuff. You know, we've talked a lot about these big benches that were formed by these river deltas in Lake Bonneville, but there's a lot of places along the Wasatch Front that don't have those big benches, and this is a good example of that. North Ogden and Pleasant View here just kind of gradually go up and up and up and up until they get to the base of Ben Lomond there. And that's not a bench, it's what's called an alluvial fan, and there's a lot of those along the Wasatch Front. And that's formed probably also during the Ice Age, during the same time as Lake Bonneville. But you can see those creeks coming down from Ben Lomond. There probably been a lot more water in them then than there is now, but they're still pretty small, and so they don't have enough water power to push the sediment all the way out to the lake. And so what happens is when they hit the mouth of the canyon, they just dump the sediment and then kind of dribble over the top of the older sediment. So it just basically builds this pile of sediment year after year after year, and that's what forms these alluvial fans. Alluvium is the technical geologic term for that sediment that's being dumped there. And so it forms these kind of gradual slopes that go up to the mountains instead of the flat benches. Well, we have reached the high point of our hike today. We've climbed about 1,200 feet up to this point. It's So I guess it's a good place for a lunch break. Funny, I can actually see over there our my car, and I'm at the trailhead, and it's quite a ways below us, and probably only about, I don't know, a couple miles, but we still have about 3 miles left in and out of these canyons to get there. So you might ask the question, why does the trail come clear up here? I think the original plan was to follow that pipeline and canal utility road that's way down there. But the problem is when they got up here to North Ogden, they couldn't negotiate their way through the private property. And so had hit a dead end down there. And between there and here, I can see a lot of cliff, a lot of really bad terrain that'd be really difficult build. So I guess this was the best alternative, was to come way up high here. But it's a climb, it was hard. But it's really nice here in the woods. Oh, that's impressive. Oh, that retaining wall is almost just as impressive. Beautiful trail, really well built, very impressive. I'm trying to see over there where the trail is, somewhere up there. But wherever it is, that's a lot of cliffs they had to navigate through. Plus, we're perched here on top of about a 100-foot cliff. So, quite an impressive piece of engineering to build this a few years ago. One of the things I love about the Bonneville Shoreline Trail in general, and today's hike in particular, is just the wide variety of environments we go through. We'll have desert, and then we'll have pine trees like we had up in Coldwater Canyon. And that has to do with essentially microclimates caused by the terrain, where on one side of the canyon, it'll be a lot sunnier and hotter and drier, especially during the winter time, and so it won't have as much vegetation. And on the other side of the canyon, where the snow stays all winter, it'll be much more lush and even have pine trees at this elevation. A great example of this is our favorite gamble oak here that is ubiquitous in these hills. You can see here behind me that where it's drier and the soil's not very good, I've got mature plants there that are a foot high. And yet, if we go just a little ways further over here, we've got gamble oak that's 30 feet tall. Okay. Is it a bush or is it a tree? Well, that depends. In fact, I did my dissertation on that, not on the biology of it, but on the difficulty of mapping things like gamble oak when you can't even decide whether it's a bush or a tree. Well, what a great day. That was easily one of my top 5 segments of the BST so far for scenery. And even though we had to go up a lot and come down a lot, the grades were built was so reasonably that most of the time you didn't even realize you were going uphill. So hats off to Trail Foundation of Northern Utah for building a great segment of trail. And hats off to the power company for letting us build on their land. Next time, it looks like we will be following these power lines up and around North Ogden and Pleasant View to finish out Weber County. We'll see you then.